talk is called Running with Legends, based on an article that I had published in Unity magazine in May of this year. The sun has risen once again. Old Reliable is in the sky for the trillionth time. After a bracing 1-minute cold shower to wake me up, I drive to Lake Elmo State Park to run, to gallop, and to slay the two-headed dragon of fear and doubt. I am 72 years young and was diagnosed with symptoms of Parkinson's disease 6 years ago. I don't call it Parkinson's, but rather name it this condition possible Parkinson's. If I don't claim ownership of the disease, perhaps it will not own me. This illness is caused by lack of dopamine in the body, and symptoms include tremors, anxiety, stiffness, balance issues in movement, fatigue, and slurred speech. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that assists in regulation of the bodily functions, and apparently I'm not producing enough of this magic elixir. I have been running for over 50 years. I give thanks for my body, my knees, my legs, all parts of my body, and that have allowed me to run through thousands of miles, to run for thousands of miles past lakes, rivers, streams, through forests and meadows, and over hills and mountains. On this early summer day, I assembled an imaginary running team to help me find some inspiration. I invite Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity Church, to lace up her sneakers and be my first running buddy. Although she is no longer body, I believe she is with me in spirit. Many of you have heard the story of how Myrtle healed herself from tuberculosis after she was told she had 6 months to live. She went on a journey of spiritual healing through affirmation, prayer, and lifestyle changes. She affirmed several times a day. Do you all remember what she affirmed?
I am a child of God and do not inherit illness.
That's right. I'm a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. Let's see if we can outrun Parkinson's today, Myrtle says. I stretch my legs and feel the staccato tremoring of my left hand. Today I intend to run 2 laps around the lake, which is about 3 miles. I begin my run and listen to healing affirmations inspired by Myrtle Fillmore on my cell phone. My body is stiff, but I know it will loosen up after the first quarter mile. I follow the shoreline of the little lake. The glassy water reflects the trees and sky. An osprey swoops over, scanning the lake surface for unsuspecting trout. I don't particularly feel like running today. Sometimes it's like that. Drinking coffee and eating a cinnamon roll seems much more attractive. In John 5:8, a lame man is laying by the pool of Bethesda and is healed by Jesus. He is told to take up his bed and walk. It is time for me to take up my bed and run. I flash back to 1971. I was on the high school track team in Columbus, Montana, and remember the training runs we did in the country north of town. The first part of the run took us up a steep gutbuster of a hill and continued across the plateau with the glorious views of the Beartooth Mountains. The final part of the 4.5-mile run was a headlong race on a dirt road leading back to town. Our coach ran with us and taught us to never stop, even when the going got tough. That attitude has carried over to this day. I come to the quarter-mile marker on the trail and see a crayfish headed for the water. It is the only thing on the trail that is moving slower than me. As I run, my legs feel weak, my stride is jerky, and my balance is wobbly. Running used to be so effortless. I repeat Myrtle's affirmation, I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. I approach the bench looking out on the lake and see Charles Fillmore sitting there. I'm 93 years young, he replies, and I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that need to be done by me. Would you run with Myrtle and me, I ask? I'd be pleased to, he says, and he just happens to have a pair of running shoes on. I sometimes lose my zeal, I confess to him. How do I get it back? Affirm your truth and deny the lie that you have told yourself about being anything less than a child of God, he says. Know that you are unlimited in your potential. Forgive yourself and others, give thanks and pray ceaselessly. That should help you feel your zeal, he exclaimed. I'm aware that Charles Fillmore had overcome some significant health challenges from a childhood ice skating accident and left one of his legs 4 inches shorter than the other. That's quite a bit of a shorter leg, that's amazing. How did you heal yourself, I asked him as we jogged. I prayed for 4 to 6 hours a day, he replied and added, it was God's will that I be made whole in mind, body, and affairs. I had gratitude and prayed, believing as if my prayers were already answered. Pray, and pray some more, he said. Open the door to the glory of the Christ within. My legs subsequently straightened out and grew back 3.5 inches, he explained. I continued my jog with the Fillmores and meet numerous dog walkers on the trail. A man with a great name passes. A woman is throwing sticks in the lake for a copper-colored dachshund to fetch. And a woman with 3 Scottish Terriers saunters by looking like something out of Lady and the Tramp. My mind is trying to convince me to quit, but I invoke my pact to never stop and continue on. I see grebes, little black waterfowl bobbing and diving down below the surface of the water. 2 mallard ducks are romancing each other near the shore. I veer off the main trail and head to the sandy beach where swimmers and picnickers come on warm summer days to frolic in the water. I pick up my pace and cross the beach. Charles and Myrtle run with me side by side. I approach another bench where I see a Native American dress. In ceremonial finery, he is wearing beaded buckskin and an eagle feather headdress. It is Chief Plentycoo, the last of the traditional Crow Indian chiefs. It would be an honor if you would run with me, I say, and introduce Charles and Myrtle to him. My heart would soar like a hawk's to run with you, he replies. Chief Plentycoo was born in 1848 at the cliffs that have no name, most likely near present-day Billings. It was his grandfather who proclaimed, he will count many coup and will live to be old and become a chief. I name him Chief Plentycoo. In a dream when he was 9 years old, Plentycoo was told, God has given you the powers to be great. Make your power work for you and you will become a chief. As a young Plentycoo progressed through his teen years, he took part in many rituals raised against enemies, living up to his name. He worked hard to gain the skills needed of a Crow warrior and leader. He became renowned for counting coup on his enemies, which involved such rituals as touching an enemy on the side of the head with a hatchet, knowing that he could have just as easily have killed him. Plentycoo went on a vision quest in the Crazy Mountains and had a vision of buffalo being sucked down a whirlpool and spotted buffalo, that he called them, coming out of that same whirlpool. The winds were blowing, and the trees in the forest were all blown down except for one which was left standing. It was the home of the chickadee, The elders of the tribe interpreted the dream as meaning that all the buffalo would be killed and cattle would take over the prairie. The Crows believed that they needed to make friends with the white settlers to survive. A totem animal may appear in a vision and become the archetypal representation of the qualities a warrior will embody in life. The chickadee became Chief Plentycoo's totem animal and represented the ability to thrive under harsh circumstances. The chickadee would be a good totem for me to embrace. And I get to see many of them actually in our front window in the morning. Plentycoo understood that the old way of life would be replaced and that going to war would be futile. He made it his mission to peacefully coexist with the white settlers. From being a great warrior and fighting the Sioux, Blackfoot, Arapaho, and Cheyenne, he became a warrior of peace and an inspirational leader of his tribe. In spite of all the wrongs bestowed upon his people, Plentycoo never lost faith in knowing that he should work alongside the white settlers. I am inspired to look at the wars I have engaged in and come to peace in my life. I challenge myself to embody the attributes of the chickadee. My running buddies continue to jog with me, and there is great power that comes from Chief Plentycoo and the Fillmores. As I continue to run, I see a grouping of mustard plants growing by the shore. These beautiful little flowers remind me of the excerpt from Matthew 17:20 through 21, where Jesus says, "For truly I tell you, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you will say to the mountain, move from here, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you." This comforts me as I face the Meadowbrook Mountains in front of me. One step at a time, I keep on keeping on. I pass the 1 mile marker on the last stretch of the first lap. My tank is on empty, but I imagine how good it will feel to finish and continue the run. I notice my legs are not moving with the smooth stride that I would like, and my left arm isn't swinging. I have to consciously make it move. I remind myself of what there is to be grateful for. Things as simple as running shoes and socks. And the bigger things like my legs, my knees, my body, my mobility, my 5 senses, and the abundance in my life. I could think of 1,000 things to be grateful for, which wouldn't leave me much time for complaint. I passed part of the trail I've named Perseverance Alley and finished the first lap around the lake. There are many causes of Parkinson's, and each case is different. I was exposed to pesticides in my teens when I worked for my dad in his agricultural business. I remember one day I was spraying for mosquitoes when a stiff breeze came up and showered me with the spray. I can still remember the pungent odor of the chemical. I don't know for sure if this is the cause of my condition. I was also a potter for 25 years, and a contributing factor could be my exposure to ceramic chemicals, which are also a factor in causing PD. It's all a mystery. I give a shout out to my substantia nigra, which is the organ located in the brain and produces dopamine. It is apparently falling down on the job. I come up with a little poem. Dopamine, dopamine, dopamine flows from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. The second lap around the lake brings new wonders to see. I continue with my affirmation, and I run past Fox Meadows, where on a lucky day, I will see a red fox. Charles is showing off and runs circles around me. "Can you feel the zeal?" he asks. A little further on the trail, a kingfisher chatters and patrols the shoreline. I run past a section of the lake where geese congregate, and a goose and gander, followed by several goslings, waddle along the shore. The gander turns to me and hisses, seeming very scary indeed. I don't know if you've ever faced a gander that's upset. They'll come at you. I approach another bench and meet a man holding a basketball. He is slipping it from hand to hand. John Wooden was a legendary coach at UCLA and won 11 national championships in college basketball, which has never been replicated since, and probably never will be. Although he passed at the age of 99 in 2010, I believe he would accept the challenge to run with me. Coach Wooden, I exclaimed, what a pleasure to meet you. You are a hero of mine. I would be honored if you would run with us, I say, and introduce Honeycoo and Charles and Myrtle. I just happen to have a pair of running shoes with me, he laughs, and laces them up. He matches us stride for stride. What do you attribute your great success to, I asked. Well, he replied, I define success as peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction, knowing you made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. Could you repeat that, I asked? That's a long sentence. Coach Wooden replied, I define success as peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction and knowing that you made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. When I taught that to my teams, he said, the victories and championships are merely a byproduct of that philosophy. Coach Wooden encourages me to find peace of mind that I'm giving it my best shot in dealing with my challenges. My running team becomes a force gathered together with a common focus of greatness. I feel the power in my mind, and in my mind we thunder down the trail like a herd of wild Mustangs. I like that image. I have my moments of complaining about my condition. I know it is a waste of energy, but I sometimes slip into the complaint mode. I could open a bottle of wine, that's spelled W-H-I-N-E, but decide to keep it in the wine cellar. I know that there are many people on this planet who are facing much more adversity than I am. When I find myself obsessing about my personal challenges, I pray for others. Namaste is a Sanskrit word that means I behold the God in you. I silently affirm that to people I pass on the path. I continue my jaunt. What fears and doubts am I running from? I have some fear that my condition is progressing. I replace that fear with life-promoting thoughts, words, and action. I affirm, I'm alive, I thrive. Every cell of my body is full of vitality, health, and well-being. I ask myself, what is the gift in this adversity? There's got to be a gift, right? You just have to look for it. I rack my brain for an answer and send out an SOS to God. Well, hello there, God. Thank you for remembering me. You know what my needs are even when I don't. Please help me to accept and understand what is for the greatest good. Show me the pathway to healing, whatever that may be. As I continue running, I see another man sitting on a bench. He is tall, lank, and athletic looking. He stands up and lopes over to me. He introduces himself as Roger Bannister, who is one of my heroes. I would be humbled if you would run with us, I say to him. He accepts my invitation and just happens to have a pair of running shoes with him. He has a beautiful stride, reminding me of a gazelle. I am in the presence of greatness. In 1954, he ran the first sub 4-minute mile, which was deemed impossible. He ran that sub 4-minute mile in the time of 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. So I just barely squeaked it in, but he did it. He broke a paradigm that the 4-minute mile was impossible. After he set the record, many runners followed suit in breaking the 4-minute barrier. I found that kind of amazing that there were numerous runners that just shortly within months had broken that 4-minute barrier. Roger Bannister later became a neurologist and ironically was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2011. I wonder if the paradigm that Parkinson's is curable can be broken. A paradigm is defined as a predictable model of behavior. Roger Bannister was a paradigm buster, and Myrtle Fillmore was too. She provided a blueprint for healing from a disease that was basically a death sentence. I can apply this model to my life. I pass another bench and a man with wild, windswept gray hair stands up to greet me. I recognize Ludwig van Beethoven and ask him if he would like to run with us. He is wearing striped socks and Nikes. Come with me on my wild gallivant, I say. Let's just do it, he exclaims. Nearly 200 years ago, Beethoven walked in the countryside outside of Vienna, Austria, where he gained inspiration for his composing. He might have been inspired to write another symphony after a run at Lake Como. Beethoven had become totally deaf when he attended the premiere of his 9th Symphony in 1824. Upon the completion of the concert, he had to be turned around to the audience so he could see the wild ovation that he had received. I listened to the Ode to Joy movement of his 9th Symphony and feel the joy in his genius. I am inspired to create my own masterpiece, my own Ode to Joy. My legendary running team jogs with me side by side as we reach the home stretch. I've earned my sweat and conquered the lake once again. I have come to this lake to run, to gallop, to slay the two-headed dragon of fear and doubt. I will continue jousting with windmills on my quixotic duel. I bid farewell to Sir Charles Fillmore, who reminds me to feel the zeal. I say so long to Chief Planku and remind myself to come to peace with my perceived enemies and to honor the chickadee. I bid Coach Wooden farewell and strive to find peace of mind in knowing I'm doing my best. I thank Roger Bannister for reminding me that paradigms are meant to be broken. And I say goodbye to Ludwig van Beethoven and remind myself to make this day a masterpiece. My legendary running team disappears into the mist. I'm left with Myrtle Fillmore, who affirms to me, you are a child of God and do not inherit sickness of any shape, form, or kind. You better believe it, she said, and winks at me, and I wink back. I bid her adieu and add, until we meet again, I am absorbed back into this day, fortified with resolve and courage to face the challenges ahead. And so it is.
God, I love this guy. That's good.